Captain Jake Martinez sat in his chair on the bridge of the Aurora. The ship floated quietly through space, far from Earth and any other human worlds. They were doing routine work, checking rocks and empty planets for useful metals. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. Jake looked at the stars through the big window in front of him. He had been doing this job for 10 years now. Space was vast and mostly empty, but he loved it out here. The silence, the freedom, the feeling that anything could happen next. "Captain," said Lisa Park, his second in command. She was a smart woman, with short black hair and quick eyes. "We're getting a message. It's marked as urgent." Jake turned his chair to face her. "From Earth?" "No, sir. It's from the Galactic Council." Jake felt his stomach drop. The Galactic Council was a group of alien species that claimed to rule most of the galaxy. Humans had only made contact with them 5 years ago. Most of the time, they ignored Earth completely. When they did send messages, it was usually to tell humans to stay away from certain areas of space. "Put it on the main screen," Jake said. The big screen at the front of the bridge flickered to life. A tall, thin creature appeared on it. The alien looked like it was made of glass or crystal. Light moved through its body in strange patterns. Jake had seen this type of alien before. They were called the Vexthara. "I am Vexthara Prime 7, the alien said. Its voice was cold and flat, like a machine talking. "I speak for the Galactic Council. This message is for all human vessels and colonies." Jake leaned forward in his chair. Lisa moved closer to hear better. Carlos Rivera, their engineer, looked up from his workstation. Carlos was a big man with rough hands and a kind face. He had been fixing something, but now he was paying attention to the screen. "The Galactic Council has made a decision about your species," the alien continued. "Humans come from what we call a death world. Your planet Earth is too dangerous. It makes your people too aggressive, too violent, too unpredictable. This makes you a threat to peaceful species across the galaxy." Jake felt his hands start to shake. He gripped the arms of his chair tighter. "Therefore," the alien said, "the Council has decided that all humans must be relocated. You will be moved to special worlds where you can live without threatening others. This decision is final. You have 30 standard days to prepare for evacuation." The bridge was completely silent. Jake could hear the quiet hum of the ship's engines and the soft beeping of computers. But no one spoke. No one moved. "Human representatives must report to Consulway Station 7 within 7 days, the alien continued. "There you will receive detailed instructions for the evacuation process. Do not attempt to resist this decision. The Council has over 10,000 ships. Your compliance is expected and will be enforced." The alien paused. Its crystal body flashed with bright light. "For a moment. Your species will be treated fairly during relocation. You will be given worlds suitable for your biological needs. But you cannot remain on Earth or in your current colonies. This is for the safety of all galactic citizens." The screen showed a star map with coordinates marked in red. "These are the coordinates for Waystation 7. Human representatives are expected to arrive within 7 days. This message will not be repeated." The screen went dark. Jake stared at the empty screen. His crew stared at him. The silence stretched on and on. "Captain?" Lisa said softly. "What do we do?" Jake didn't answer right away. His mind was racing. 30 days to evacuate Earth. 7 days to report to some alien station. 10,000 enemy ships. It seemed impossible. "They want to kick us off our own planet," Carlos said. His voice was angry. "They want to put us in some kind of prison." "They said it was for everyone's safety," Lisa said, but she didn't sound like she believed it. Jake stood up and walked to the big window. He looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, The world where humans were born. His world. His home. "Captain," Lisa said again. "The Council's message was sent to all human ships and colonies. Everyone will be getting this news." Jake nodded. He thought about Earth, about the billions of people living there. He thought about the human colonies on other worlds. All of them would be getting this message right now. All of them would be as shocked and scared as his crew. "Sir," Carlos said, "what makes them think we're so dangerous? We've never attacked any alien species. We've been peaceful in all our contacts." Jake turned back to his crew. "It's not about what we've done. It's about what we might do. They're afraid of us because we come from a harsh world. They think that makes us natural killers." "Are we?" Lisa asked quietly. Jake looked at her. Lisa was one of the kindest people he knew. She had never hurt anyone in her life. Carlos was the same way. Most humans were just regular people trying to live their lives and take care of their families. "No," Jake said. "We're not killers. We're survivors." "There's a difference." He walked back to his chair and sat down. His crew was watching him, waiting for orders. Jake knew that whatever he decided now would affect not just his ship, but possibly all of humanity. "Lisa," he said, "set course for Earth. Maximum speed?" "Sir?" Lisa looked confused. "The Council said to report to their way station." "I know what." "They said—" Jake's voice was firm. "But I'm not going to some alien station to discuss how to surrender our world. I'm going home." Carlos smiled. "Good. I was hoping you'd say that." "But Captain," Lisa said, "if we don't follow their orders, they might attack us." Jake nodded. "They might. But if we do follow their orders, we lose everything anyway. At least this way, we get to make our own choice." Lisa thought about this for a moment. Then she smiled too. "Course set for Earth, sir. Maximum speed." Jake sat back in his chair as the Aurora turned toward home. The ship's engines hummed louder. As they picked up speed, through the window, the stars began to shift as they entered hyperspace. "Lisa," Jake said, "send a message to every human ship and colony you can reach. Use emergency channels. Tell them we're going home and ask them if they want to come with us." "What should I say exactly?" Lisa asked. Jake thought for a moment. "Tell them the Council wants us gone. Tell them we have a choice to make. We can go quietly, or we can stand up for ourselves. Ask them which they prefer." Lisa nodded and got to work. Carlos went back to his repairs, but Jake could see he was smiling. The ship raced through space toward Earth, carrying 3 humans who had decided they would not give up their world without a fight. Jake looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, 10,000 alien ships were probably preparing for an easy operation. They expected humans to be afraid, to be reasonable, to accept their fate quietly. They were going to be very surprised. The Aurora raced through hyperspace toward Earth. Jake sat in his captain's chair, watching the stars blur past the window. It had been 2 days since they received the Council's message. 2 days since he decided to go home instead of surrendering. "Captain," Lisa said from her station, "we're getting responses to your message." Jake turned to face her. "How many?" 17 ships so far, and 3 colonies." Jake felt his heart beat faster. "What are they saying?" Lisa smiled. "They're saying yes, they want to fight." The first response had come from Captain Susan Hayes of the mining ship Titan. Her message was short and simple. "We're with you. Heading home now." Then came Commander Alex Stone from the colony on Kepler 442b. "My people vote to resist. We'll send what ships we can." More messages kept coming. Captain Ryan Clark of the transport ship Liberty. Captain Nicole White of the research vessel Discovery. Captain Ben Turner of the cargo hauler Friendship. One by one, human ships across the galaxy were turning toward Earth. "Any word from Earth itself?" Jake asked. Yes, sir, Lisa said. Admiral Patricia Wright responded an hour ago. She's calling an emergency meeting of the Human Defense Council. She says Earth will not surrender. Jake nodded. Admiral Wright was old, but she was tough. She had fought in the border wars 20 years ago. If anyone could organize Earth's defenses, it was her. Carlos looked up from his work. Captain, I've been thinking. If we're really going to fight, we need to know what we're up against. 10,000 ships is a lot. You're right, Jake said. Lisa, see if you can access any information about Council fleet capabilities. I want to know what kind of ships they have, what weapons they use, everything. Lisa got to work on her computer. The ship's databases had some information about the various alien species, but not much about their military capabilities. Humans had tried to stay peaceful with the Council, so they had never needed to study their weapons. I'm finding some basic information, Lisa said. The Council has ships from 12 different species. Most of them are bigger than our ships, and they have energy weapons we've never seen before. What about their weaknesses? Jake asked. Lisa shook her head. Nothing in our databases. We just don't know enough about them. Jake stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the stars continued their strange dance as the ship moved through hyperspace. He thought about the odds they were facing. 10,000 alien ships against maybe a few hundred human vessels. It didn't look good, but then he thought about something else. The Council's message had been cold, formal, like they were reading from a script. They hadn't tried to negotiate or explain their reasoning. They had just given orders and expected humans to obey. They're not used to being told no, Jake said out loud. What? Carlos asked. Jake turned back to his crew. Think about it. The Council rules most of the galaxy. When they tell a species to do something, that species probably just does it. They're not used to resistance. You think that gives us an advantage? Lisa asked. Maybe. They're expecting us to be afraid. They're expecting us to give up. If we don't, if we stand and fight, they might not know how to handle it. A new message came in. This one was from Captain Danny Miller of the patrol ship Eagle. Got your message, Jake. My crew and I are with you. We're bringing friends. More messages followed. Captain Amy Johnson of the colony ship Hope. Captain Steve Anderson of the mining station on Asteroid Base 7. Captain Kelly Brown of the deep space research platform Horizon. How many ships do we have now? Jake asked. Lisa checked her screen. 42 ships confirmed. 16 colonies are sending their defense fleets, and Earth's main fleet is mobilizing. Jake felt a surge of hope. It wasn't enough to match the Council's numbers, but it was a start. Captain, Carlos said, I've been working on something. If we're going to fight, we need every advantage we can get. He brought up a display on the main screen. It showed technical drawings of human ships and weapons. Our ships are smaller than theirs, Carlos said, but they're faster and more maneuverable. Our weapons are less powerful, but we can fire them more quickly. And we know Earth's solar system better than they do. Jake studied the display. What are you thinking? Hit and run tactics. Use the asteroid belt for cover. Make them come to us on our terms? Lisa looked up from her station. Captain, we're getting a message from Earth. It's Admiral Wright. Put her on screen. The main display changed to show Admiral Wright's face. She was an older woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. Behind her, Jake could see the busy command center of Earth's Space Defense Headquarters. Captain Martinez, she said, I've been reading the reports of your message to the fleet. Good work. We need leaders like you right now. Thank you, Admiral. What's the situation on Earth? We're mobilizing everything we have. Every ship, every weapon, every person who can help. The President has declared a state of emergency. We're not going anywhere. Jake felt proud of his species. When threatened, humans didn't run. They stood together and fought. What about other species? Jake asked. Are any of them willing to help us? Admiral Wright's expression darkened. We've sent messages to every non-council species we know. So far, no responses. They're all too afraid of the council. Can't blame them, Carlos said quietly. Maybe not, Jake said. But we can't count on anyone but ourselves. Admiral Wright nodded. That's right. Captain Martinez, I want you to take command of the outer system defense. Your ship will coordinate with all the vessels coming in from deep space. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Yes, ma'am. How long until the council fleet arrives? Admiral Wright asked. Lisa checked her calculations. Based on their message, they should be here in 25 days. Then we have 25 days to prepare, Admiral Wright said. Captain Martinez, I'm sending you detailed defense plans. Study them. We're going to make the council regret threatening Earth. The message ended, and Jake sat back in his chair. 25 days to prepare for the fight of their lives. Lisa, he said, how many ships do we have now? 67 confirmed, sir. More are still responding. Jake nodded. It wasn't much compared to 10,000, but it was growing. Every ship that joined them was another sign that humanity wouldn't give up, Captain, Carlos said. I've been thinking about something else. The council said we come from a death world. They said that makes us dangerous. Yeah? Well, maybe they're right. Maybe we are dangerous. Maybe that's exactly what we need to be. Jake looked at his engineer. Carlos was a gentle man, but there was something hard in his eyes now. Something that said he was ready to fight for his home. You might be right, Jake said. The council wants to judge us for being survivors. Fine. Let's show them what survivors can do. The Aurora continued its journey toward Earth. Behind them, dozens of human ships followed. Ahead of them, their home world waited, preparing for war. In 25 days, the galaxy would learn what happened when you tried to take away a human's home. Jake looked out at the stars one more time. Somewhere out there, 10,000 alien ships were probably moving toward Earth, confident in their power and their right to relocate an entire species. They were about to learn that humans didn't relocate easily. The Aurora dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Jake looked out at the view ahead and felt his breath catch in his throat. Ships filled the space around him. Hundreds of human vessels of every size and shape had gathered to defend their home. My God, Lisa whispered. Look at them all. Jake stood up and walked to the window. There were military cruisers from Earth's defense fleet, their hulls painted in battle gray. Mining ships with heavy armor welded to their sides. Cargo haulers carrying missile pods. Even civilian transports that had been converted into fighting ships. How many do we have? Jake asked. Carlos checked his scanner. I count over 3,000 ships, Captain. And more are still arriving. Jake felt a surge of pride. 3,000 ships was still far less than the Council's 10,000, but it was more than he had dared to hope for. Humanity was standing together. Captain, Lisa said, we're getting a message from Admiral Wright. She wants all ship captains to report to the command center on Earth. Jake shook his head. Tell her I'm staying here. If the Council arrives early, someone needs to be ready. She says it's important, sir. Jake thought about it. All right, but we're taking the Aurora down to Earth. I want to see home before the fighting starts. The Aurora flew toward the blue and white marble that was Earth. Jake had been away for 6 months, but the sight of his home planet still took his breath away. The white clouds swirled over blue oceans. The continents were brown, and green patches that he knew by heart. Look at that, Carlos said softly. Look what they want to take away from us. Jake nodded. This was what they were fighting for. Not just a planet, but their home. The world that had made them who they were. The Aurora landed at the spaceport. Outside the capital city, Jake, Lisa, and Carlos took a shuttle to the Defense Command building. The streets were full of people, but they weren't panicking. They were working. Everyone was doing something to help prepare for the coming battle. Admiral Wright met them at the entrance to the command center. She looked tired but determined. "Captain Martinez," she said, "glad you could make it. We have a lot to discuss." She led them into a large room filled with screens and computers. Officers from every branch of Earth's military were working at stations around the room. In the center was a huge display showing the entire solar system. "This is our situation, Admiral," Wright said, pointing to the display. "We have 3,700 ships now. More are arriving every hour. We've set up defensive positions throughout the system. Asteroid bases, minefields, weapon platforms." Jake studied the display. The human ships were spread out in a defensive formation that used the solar system's natural features. Ships hid behind asteroids and moons. Weapon platforms were built into the larger rocks. "What about the Council fleet?" Jake asked. "Our scouts report they're 2 days away. 10,000 ships, just like they said. They're coming in a standard formation, straight for Earth." "Overconfident," Lisa said. "That's what we're hoping," Admiral Wright replied. "They expect us to surrender when they arrive. Instead, they're going to find a fight." A new officer approached. He was a young man with captain's bars on his uniform. "Admiral, we just received a transmission from the Council fleet. They want to send a delegation to meet with our leaders." Admiral Wright looked at Jake. "Captain Martinez, I want you to be part of that delegation. You started this resistance. You should be there when we tell them no." Jake felt his stomach tighten. "What exactly are we going to tell them? The truth, that we're not leaving? That Earth is our home, and we're going to defend it." 2 days later, Jake found himself aboard a small diplomatic ship heading toward the Council fleet. The enemy ships had arrived right on schedule, dropping out of hyperspace in perfect formation. They were beautiful and terrible at the same time. Jake had never seen ships like these before. They were huge, some of them miles long. Their hulls were made of materials that seemed to glow with their own light. They moved through space with grace and power that made human ships look like toys. "There are so many of them," Lisa said. She had insisted on coming with Jake, along with Carlos and Admiral Wright. 10,000 ships, Carlos said, checking his scanner. "Just like they promised." The diplomatic ship docked with the Council flagship. Jake and his team were escorted through corridors that seemed to be made of living crystal. The walls pulsed with soft light, and the air smelled of something Jake couldn't identify. They were brought to a vast chamber at the heart of the ship. The ceiling was so high that Jake couldn't see the top of it. In the center of the room was a raised platform where the Council representatives waited. Jake had expected to see the crystal alien from the message, but instead he found himself facing something much more frightening. The creature that seemed to be in charge was enormous, like a giant sea creature with tentacles and patches of skin that glowed with bright colors. "I am High Admiral Zexkar of the Hegemony," the creature said. Its voice was deep and seemed to come from everywhere at once. "I speak for the Galactic Council in this matter." Around the platform, representatives from a dozen different alien species watched the humans. Some looked like insects, others like plants, still others like nothing Jake had ever imagined. All of them were staring at the 4 humans with expressions that might have been curiosity or contempt. "You are the human representatives," Zexkar continued. "You have come to discuss the terms of your species relocation." Admiral Wright stepped forward. We've come to tell you that we're not relocating. Earth is our home, and we're staying. The chamber fell silent. The alien representatives looked at each other with what might have been surprise. Zexkar's glowing patches flickered in a pattern that seemed like confusion. You do not understand. Zexkar said, this is not a negotiation. The Council has made its decision. Your species will be relocated for the safety of the galaxy. Why? Jake asked, stepping up beside Admiral Wright. What have we done to threaten anyone? Zexkar's huge form shifted, and his attention focused on Jake. You come from a death world. Your planet breeds violence. Your gravity is crushing. Your weather is violent. Your evolution has made you into natural killers. You cannot be allowed to spread through civilized space. We're not killers, Lisa said. We're explorers. We're builders. We're trying to make the galaxy a better place. Your military records say otherwise, another alien said. This one looked like a tall plant, with moving vines for arms. Your species has fought constant wars throughout its history. You have weapons designed to destroy entire planets. You are a threat to peaceful species everywhere. Jake felt his anger rising. We've never attacked any alien species. We've been peaceful in all our contacts with the Council. Because you are few and weak, Zexkar replied. But you reproduce quickly and spread rapidly. In time, you will be numerous and strong. Then you will become a threat to all civilized life. You're judging us for crimes we haven't committed, Admiral Wright said. You're condemning us for what you think we might do. We are protecting the galaxy, Zexkar said. This decision is final. You will comply with the relocation order. The moment stretched out. Jake could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on him. Around him, the alien representatives waited to see what the humans would do. Behind him, he could sense Lisa and Carlos watching, waiting for his response. Jake thought about Earth, spinning blue and beautiful in space. He thought about the 3,000 ships full of humans who had come to defend their home. He thought about every human who had ever lived and died on that world, and every human who would be born there in the future. No, Jake said. The word seemed to echo in the vast chamber. Zexkar's glowing patches flared brighter. What did you say? The alien leader asked. Jake stepped forward, meeting the creature's alien gaze. I said no. We're not leaving our home. We're not surrendering our world. We're not going to be relocated like animals in a zoo. You cannot resist the Council, Zexkar said. We have 10,000 ships. You have fewer than 4,000. You cannot win. Maybe not, Jake said, but we can try. And maybe that's what makes us dangerous. We don't give up just because the odds are bad. Admiral Wright moved to stand beside Jake. The human species respectfully declines the Council's relocation offer. We will defend our home. Lisa and Carlos stepped forward too, flanking Jake and the Admiral. 4 humans facing the most powerful organization in the galaxy. You are making a mistake, Zexkar said. We do not wish to destroy you, but we will, if necessary. And you'll have to destroy us, Jake said, because we're not leaving. The alien representatives began talking among themselves in languages Jake couldn't understand. Some of them seemed angry, others confused. A few looked almost impressed. Zexkar raised one of his tentacles, and the chamber fell silent again. You have made your choice. We will return to our fleet and prepare for battle. You have 1 hour to reconsider. We won't need an hour, Jake said. Our answer is the same. No. The humans were escorted back to their ship as they flew away from the Council flagship. Jake looked back at the massive fleet arrayed against them. 10,000 ships, each one more powerful than anything humanity had ever built. Well, Carlos said, that went about as expected. What now? Lisa asked. Jake looked out at the stars where the human fleet waited. Now we go home and get our. The human diplomatic ship returned to the fleet in tense silence. Jake stared out the window at the council ships, their alien hulls gleaming in the light of Earth's sun. 1 hour. That's how long Zexkar had given them to change their minds. Captain, Lisa said softly, do you think we did the right thing? Jake looked at his second-in-command. Lisa had been with him for 5 years. She was smart, brave, and had never questioned his decisions before. But now her face showed worry. I think we did the only thing we could do, Jake said. Would you rather live on your knees or die on your feet? I'd rather live on my feet, Carlos said from the pilot's seat. But I understand what you mean. Admiral Wright was quiet during the flight, back to the human fleet. When they docked with the command ship, she immediately called a meeting with all the senior captains. Jake found himself in a room with 50 other ship commanders, all of them, looking grim. The council refused to negotiate. Admiral Wright told the assembled captains. They gave us 1 hour to surrender. That was 30 minutes ago. Captain Susan Hayes, the mining ship commander who had been first to answer Jake's call, stood up. What are their exact terms? Complete evacuation of Earth and all human colonies. Relocation to worlds selected by the Council. Permanent monitoring. To ensure we don't become a threat. The room erupted in angry voices. Jake heard captains cursing, others demanding to know what weapons the Council had, still others asking about escape routes. Quiet, Admiral Wright shouted. The room fell silent. We have a choice to make. We can surrender now and hope the Council treats us fairly. Or we can fight and probably die, but at least die as free people. Captain Danny Miller of the patrol. Ship Eagle spoke up. Admiral, what are our actual chances if we fight? Honestly, very small. The Council has better ships, better weapons, and more experience. But they're not expecting resistance. That might give us some advantage. Jake stood up. I have something to say? All eyes turned to him. Jake felt the weight of their attention. These were good people, brave people. They had families back on Earth, children who would grow up as refugees if the Council won. I know the odds are bad, Jake said. I know we're probably going to lose, but I keep thinking about something. The Council says we're dangerous because we come from a death world. They say our planet made us violent and unpredictable. He paused, looking around the room at the faces of his fellow captains. Maybe they're right. Maybe we are dangerous. But not because we're violent. We're dangerous because we don't give up. We're dangerous because when someone tells us we can't do something, we do it anyway. We're dangerous because we believe in freedom. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. The Council has ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, Jake continued. They're used to giving orders and having them obeyed. They've never faced a species that said no. Maybe it's time someone did. Captain Amy Johnson of the colony ship Hope stood up. Captain Martinez is right. Even if we lose, we'll send a message. We'll show the galaxy that some species won't be bullied. And if we win? Asked Captain Kelly Brown of the research platform Horizon. If we win, Jake said, we change everything. We show every species in the galaxy that the Council can be beaten. We prove that freedom is worth fighting for. Admiral Wright nodded. All in favor of fighting? Every hand in the room went up. Not one captain voted to surrender. Then it's settled, Admiral Wright said. We fight. All ships to battle stations. This is not a drill. Jake returned to the Aurora, feeling both proud and terrified. His crew was waiting for him on the bridge, their faces showing the same mix of emotions he felt. What's the plan, Captain? Lisa asked. Jake sat down in his command chair and looked at the tactical display. The Council fleet was moving into attack formation, their ships spreading out in a perfect battle line. They expected the humans to Meet them in open space for a traditional battle. We're not going to fight them the way they expect, Jake said. Carlos, take us into the asteroid belt. Signal the rest of the fleet to follow. The asteroid belt? Lisa asked. But that's dangerous. Ships can get trapped in there. Exactly. But we know how to navigate it, and they don't. It's our home system. The Aurora led the human fleet into the rocky maze of the asteroid belt. Behind them, the Council ships followed, but more slowly. Their huge vessels had trouble maneuvering around the spinning rocks. This is better, Carlos said, checking his screens. Their big ships can't use their size advantage in here. Jake opened a channel to the entire human fleet. All ships, this is Captain Martinez. Here's how we're going to do this. Hit and run attacks. Use the asteroids for cover. Don't try to fight them head-on. Make them come to us. The first Council ships entered the asteroid belt. They moved carefully, their weapons scanning for targets. Jake waited until they were deep in the rocks before giving the order. All ships attack. A human fleet struck from every direction. Ships appeared from behind asteroids, fired their weapons, and disappeared again. The Council ships tried to respond, but their huge vessels were too slow and clumsy in the confined. Space, it's working, Lisa said excitedly. We're actually hitting them. Jake watched the battle on his screens. The human ships were like angry bees, stinging the Council fleet and darting away before they could be caught. Several alien ships had already been damaged, but then the Council adapted. They stopped trying to chase the human ships and instead began systematically destroying the asteroids. Without cover, the human ships were exposed. They're learning, Carlos said grimly. This won't work much longer. Jake was about to give new orders when something unexpected happened. A new voice came over the communication system. This is Captain Valanesh of the Karafi vessel Peaceful Dawn. We are breaking from the Council fleet to join the human resistance. Jake couldn't believe what he was hearing. One of the Council ships was switching sides. Captain Valanesh, Jake said into his communicator. Are you sure about this? We have watched your species for 5 years, the alien captain replied. You have been peaceful, curious, and kind. The Council is wrong to relocate you. We will stand with you. On the tactical display, Jake watched as a Council ship broke formation and moved toward the human fleet. The other Council ships seemed confused, not sure whether to attack their former ally. This is High Admiral Zexkar, came a new voice over the communications. Captain Valanesh, return to formation immediately. You are in violation of Council orders. We refuse, Valanesh replied. The Karafi people have decided. We will not be part of this injustice. Jake felt a surge of hope. If one species could break away from the Council, maybe others would follow. All human ships, Jake broadcast, we have allies. Continue the attack. The battle raged through the asteroid belt. The human ships, now joined by the Karathi vessel, continued their hit-and-run tactics. More Council ships were damaged, but the humans were taking losses too. Then another ship broke from the Council fleet. This one was from a species called the Zentari, tall creatures with blue skin and large eyes. This is Captain Mordak of the Zentari ship Swift Current, came the transmission. We also joined the human resistance. The Council's actions today go against everything we believe in. Jake watched in amazement as more ships began to break away from the Council fleet. Not many, but enough to matter. The Council's absolute authority was cracking. What's happening? Lisa asked. Something the Council never expected, Jake said. Their own member species are questioning their orders. High Admiral Zexkar's voice boomed across space. All ships, fire on the human vessels immediately. Destroy them before this rebellion spreads. The Council fleet opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams lit up space. Missiles streaked between the asteroids. The humans and their new allies fought back desperately. "Captain," Carlos said, "I'm reading massive energy buildup from the Council flagship. They're charging some kind of super weapon." Jake's blood ran cold. "How long until it's ready to fire?" 2 minutes, maybe less." Jake opened a channel to all ships. "All vessels, emergency scatter pattern. The flagship is charging a planet killer." The human fleet scattered in all directions, using the asteroids for cover. But Jake knew it wouldn't be enough. If the Council had a weapon that could destroy planets, no amount of hiding would save them. "There has to be something we can do," Lisa said desperately. Jake studied the tactical display, his mind racing. The Council flagship was huge and heavily armored. No human weapon could penetrate its defenses. But maybe they didn't need to destroy it. Maybe they just needed to disrupt it. "Carlos," Jake said, "can we ram one of those big asteroids into their flagship?" Carlos looked at his screens. "Maybe. There's a big one about 2 kilometers across. If we could attach engines to it and aim it right, ... double quotes. Do it. How long do we need?" 5 minutes to attach the engines. Another 5 to get it moving fast enough. "We don't have 10 minutes, Lisa pointed out. Jake made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. "Then we'll have to buy time. All ships, attack the flagship directly. Keep them busy while Carlos works." "Captain," Lisa said quietly, "that's suicide. Our ships can't survive a direct assault on that thing." "I know, but if we don't try, Earth dies." Jake watched on his screen as dozens of human ships broke cover and flew straight at the massive Council flagship. The alien ships, weapons o' penny. The space around Earth had become a battlefield unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. On one side, High Admiral Zexkar led the remaining Council fleet, still numbering in the thousands. On the other side, Jake found himself commanding a mixed force of humans and rebel alien species who had chosen to stand against the Council's authority. "Captain," Lisa said from her station, "I'm counting over 1,500 ships that have broken away from the Council fleet. They're forming up with our forces." Jake could hardly believe it. What had started as a desperate human resistance had become a galaxy-wide rebellion against the Council's power. Species that had been silent for centuries were finally speaking. "Up, sir," Carlos said. "The Council flagship is moving again. Looks like they're trying to get around our fleet to attack Earth directly." Jake studied the tactical display. Zexkar was trying to avoid the rebel fleet and strike at Earth itself. If the Council could destroy humanity's homeworld, the rebellion would collapse. "All ships," Jake broadcast, "move to intercept the Council flagship. Don't let them get past us." The mixed fleet raced to block the Council's path to Earth. Human ships flew alongside alien vessels they had never seen before. The Karathi ships with their smooth, organic curves. The angular Zentari vessels with their bright blue hulls. The small, fast Delvari ships that darted between the larger vessels like schools of fish. "This is incredible," Lisa said, watching the display. "All these different species working together." The Council fleet opened fire as soon as the rebels came. Within range, energy beams and missiles filled space between the two fleets. The rebels fired back with everything they had, their different weapons creating a light show that could be seen from Earth's surface. Jake watched as ships on both sides took damage and fell out of formation. Good people were dying on both sides of this fight. But the Council had started this battle by threatening to exile an entire species from their home. "Captain," came a new voice over the communications. It was Captain Valanesh of the Karathi ship. "We are losing ships faster than the Council fleet. Our weapons are not as powerful as theirs." Jake knew the alien captain was right. The rebel fleet was brave, but they were still outgunned. The Council ships had better armor and stronger weapons. Unless something changed, the rebels would eventually be worn down. "We need to try something different," Jake said to his crew. "Carlos, what's the status on that asteroid we used before?" "It's still drifting near the Council flagship," Carlos replied. "But it's too damaged to use as a weapon again." Jake thought. Frantically, they needed a way to even the odds. Then he remembered something from the Council's original message. They had said humans were dangerous because they were unpredictable. "Maybe it's time to be unpredictable," Jake said out loud. "What do you mean?" Lisa asked. Jake opened a channel to all ships in the rebel fleet. "All vessels, this is Captain Martinez. I have an idea, but it's going to sound crazy." He paused, looking out at the battle raging around them. "The Council says we're dangerous because we don't follow the rules. So let's stop following the rules. All ships ram the Council vessels. Make them pay for every inch of space." "Captain," Lisa said, "that's suicide." "No," Jake said, "that's survival. We can't win a traditional battle, so we don't fight a traditional battle." To Jake's amazement, ships throughout the rebel fleet began changing course. Human vessels led the way, but they were quickly joined by their alien allies. The entire rebel fleet charged straight at the Council ships. The tactic was so unexpected that the Council fleet hesitated for a crucial moment. They had been trained to fight organized battles with careful formations. They weren't prepared for a wild, desperate charge by ships willing to sacrifice themselves. Captain Susan Hayes, somehow still alive after the earlier battle, led the charge in a damaged mining ship. "For Earth," she shouted over the communications. As her ship rammed into a Council cruiser, other ships followed her example. The small Delvari vessels proved especially effective, their speed allowing them to reach Council ships before the aliens could target them. Each ramming attack disabled or destroyed a Council vessel, but at the cost of the attacking ship. "It's working," Carlos said with amazement. "The Council fleet is falling back." Jake watched as the disciplined Council formation began to break apart. Their ships were powerful, but they weren't prepared for opponents who fought without regard for their own safety. High, Admiral Zexkar's voice boomed across space. "All ships maintain formation. Do not let them break our lines." But it was too late. The rebel fleet had punched through the Council formation, dividing their forces. What had been an organized battle became a chaotic brawl with ships fighting. Individual duels throughout the solar system. "Captain," Lisa said, "we're getting a message from Earth. It's President Santos again." The main screen showed the president, but this time she wasn't alone. Behind her stood the leaders of every major nation on Earth, and with them were representatives from the rebel alien species. "People of the galaxy," President Santos said, "what you see here today is not just humans defending their home. It is free beings of every species standing together against tyranny." Standing beside the president was a tall, elegant Karathi leader. "I am Prime Valthara of the Karathi Republic," the alien said. "For too long, we have allowed the Council to speak. For us, today, we speak for ourselves." Other alien leaders stepped forward. The blue-skinned Zentari, the small, furry Delvari, even some species Jake didn't recognize. "We call upon all free species to join us," said a Zentari leader. "The galaxy belongs to all of us, not just to those who claim the right to rule." The message was being broadcast throughout the galaxy. On thousands of worlds, billions of beings were watching this confrontation and making their own decisions about freedom. The effect was immediate. Jake's scanners detected new ships arriving in Earth's solar system. Not just a few, but hundreds, then thousands. Species that had never been part of the Council were coming to join the fight. My God, Lisa whispered. The whole galaxy is choosing sides. High Admiral Zex Carr seemed to realize what was happening. His voice came over the communications again, but now it sounded desperate. This rebellion must be stopped, he declared. If the Council's authority is challenged, chaos will consume the galaxy. Maybe the galaxy needs a little chaos, Jake replied. Maybe it's time for some changes. The battle continued to rage, but now the sides were more evenly matched. New ships arrived every minute, most of them joining the rebel cause. The Council fleet, which had seemed invincible hours before, was now outnumbered. Then something unexpected happened. A group of Council ships stopped firing and began broadcasting surrender signals. "This is Captain Yex Thul of the Council vessel Harmony of Stars," came a transmission. "We can no longer support this action. The humans have proven they are not the monsters we were told they were." More Council ships began to surrender. Not all of them, but enough to turn the tide completely. The Council's authority was collapsing as their own ships turned against them. High Admiral Zex Carr found himself leading fewer than 1,000 ships against a rebel fleet that now numbered in the tens of thousands. The battle was lost, and he knew it. All Council ships. Zex Carr's voice came over the communications one last time. "Withdraw from this system. We will reconsider our position." Jake couldn't believe what he was hearing. The Council was retreating. "This is Captain Martinez to High Admiral Zex Carr," Jake said into his communicator. "You came here to judge humanity. Have you learned what you wanted to know?" There was a long pause before Zex Carr replied. "Your species is indeed dangerous, Captain Martinez, but perhaps the galaxy needs more dangerous species." The Council fleet began jumping to hyperspace, their ships disappearing one by one. Soon, only the rebel fleet remained around Earth, along with the surrendered Council ships whose crews had chosen freedom over blind obedience. Jake sat back in his command chair and looked out at the blue marble that was Earth. It was still there, still spinning, still home. The crisis was over, but he knew everything had changed. "Captain," Lisa said softly, "what happens now?" Jake thought about that question. The Council's authority was broken. Dozens of species had declared their independence. The galaxy would have to find a new way to govern itself. "Now we build something better," Jake said. "A galaxy where no one gets to decide who deserves to have a home." Carlos looked up from his station. "Think it will work? All these different species trying to work together?" Jake smiled. "It worked today, didn't it? Maybe that's enough to start with." On the main screen, ships from dozens of different species floated peacefully around Earth. Humans and aliens who had been strangers that morning were now allies. It wasn't perfect, and there would be challenges ahead. But for the first time in galactic history, free species had stood together and said no to tyranny. The word no had changed everything. And Jake Martinez, a simple starship captain from a small planet in an ordinary solar system, had been the one to say Earth was safe, humanity was free, and the galaxy would never be the same. Jake looked out at the stars and smiled. It didn't belong to the Council anymore. They belonged to everyone brave enough to reach for them.